Basic Beginner's Guitar. Perfect Timing, a Focused Approach, Book 1. This is Lesson 5, Part 1. And the last lesson, we were at the bottom of page 32, running out of time. And we were looking at, basically I didn't cover that without the dot. We were talking about dotted notes, and without the dot in the measure that I've shown, lower left corner of page 32, the count would be incorrect for the measure because you'd have just a regular half note. It would be 1, 2, and the four, it's 4 time, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, and there should be, and there's the bar line for the measure, end of the measure. That should be 4 counts, and it's not, so I was just trying to show basically would only add up to 3 there. And since the top number of the time signature is a 4, should be 4 counts. So this dot is trying to show the difference there. The dotted G half and a quarter note, same thing, but without it, it's not really written correctly. So anyway, maybe that was just getting nitpicky over. It's in there, so I thought we'd talk it over there. Before we move on to something else, on page 33 here, let's try to play perfectly. Since we have our perfect timing title, the whole 4 measures, a whole 4 measure line of music from page 31, using our new knowledge of dotted notes. Okay, as on page 32, I have added the correct counts for all 4 measures below the music. So 1, 2, ready, play, and there's the counts added in. Count for measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, measure 4. Okay, so no further ado, let me count this off and see if I can play it right, and you play along. You count off 1, 2, ready, play. Okay, maybe you can see my hands well enough. 1, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, perfect. It was wonderful. Okay, so now that you know all about dotted notes, right? It's quiz time. Oh no. Oh no, there he is. He's worried. Question: if a half note gets 2 counts, or goes from 2 counts to 3 counts when a dot is added beside it, then how many counts does a quarter note get when a dot is added beside it? And remember, quarter note usually gets 1 count, and the dot adds to a note 1/2 of its normal count value. Okay, so that was actually 2 hints I noted there. The answer is, hopefully you came up with 1.5 counts, since a quarter note gets 1 count and the dot adds half of that value to the note. A half of 1, 1/2 of 1 is 1/2, and this is not difficult math, just follow along. And 1 plus 1/2 is 1.5. So dotted quarter notes are a little tricky to count and play, so we won't be using them yet, but I thought you should know about them. Okay, we'll talk about it some later. I said, well, all right, enough about dots for now. Let's move on to something. He's had enough of dots there already, so let's move on to something called a tie. A tie is a gently upward or downward, depending on what notes you're tying together, curved line between 2 notes that lets you know that the notes are connected as one note when played. That is, you will play the note once and hold it for the length of time that each note normally gets added together. I think that made proper sense. Also, the 2 notes a tie connects are always the same pitch, and it connects them from one measure to the next. I want to make sure that's correct. I think that is safe to say. They're always the same pitch. Sometimes you'll see what looks like a tie, and it's getting ahead of myself, but it's more of a slur. It goes from like one note to a different pitch note, and some of this applies, but it basically is the note is sliding from one note to the other. But in just a tie, you notice that F note is tied. It's a whole note, and then in the next measure it's a half, so the whole note gets 1, 2, 3, 4. the half gets 1, 2. So basically the count would be like you'd play it. I'm just going to play a D note so I can use my fingers here, an open string, okay? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then the next note, okay? So playing the proper note, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, okay? And so we have the first measure, in the first measure, an F note, and the second measure, an F half note. I'm sorry, an F whole note, and then an F half note in the second measure, and an F quarter note and a G quarter note. So that counts are included there, I noted, and below the notes to show that the counting stays the same with the tie added. The difference is that when you play the first F note, it should keep ringing through its 4 counts plus the second count of the F note in the next measure that it's tied to. So it should ring for 6 counts, 4 plus 2, right? A little tricky, but very important. So 35, combining 2 concepts. Here's an example. Always doing my time checks here. Okay, well, here's an example of a dotted note. In this case, the dotted half note tied together with an undotted or normal, we'll call it note. In this case, another half note. The counts are shown beneath again, down here. We're on page 35. So the counts down here are shown 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And counts are shown beneath, yeah. So you should be able to count out loud and play the 4 written notes, letting them all ring for the correct period of time. Good luck, you may need it. I have this little fella here. You may need some good luck on this, but not really. Just think about it. That'll get you through. How did you do? Okay, well, I'll play it so you can kind of figure that out, right? Ready? And you keep running this back till you get it right. And it's easy, but you have to have some thought here. So 1, 2, ready, play, because it's 4, 4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, they're in the middle of the 2 D notes that are tied there. Should have been together. So you have 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, which really adds up to 5. Okay, so how did you do? Again, the counting stays the same as if the tie wasn't there. The second and third notes should ring as one combined note. The length of each one's count value added together. So in this case, it should ring for 5 counts. The 3 counts of the first note in the tie, 2, 3, 4, plus the 2 counts of the second note in the tie, 1, 2, and that equals 5, right? Okay, keep reviewing this page and the last one, page 34, until you understand it well and you can play it well. You want to be able to really do that, and it's a little tricky. But let's move on. Looking back on page 35, or look back on page 35 and observe that when you play those 4 notes, it should sound like only 3 notes, okay, because of the tie. Pretty neat, huh? Maybe you find that more frustrating and confusing, but it is actually a pretty cool tool in written music. So try this little exercise that includes more ties and dotted notes before we move on, okay? I'm going to check my time and count. Yeah, we got plenty of time. So I'm going to count it off, and the counts are down there. Measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, measure 4. Starts on a G note, okay? Alrighty, so 1, 2, ready, play. And we'll kind of jump into it here. Starts on the G. 1, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? You can't see my right hand very good, I know. I didn't shorten my strap up so that we could see things better. I should have. Anyway, not going to do it again. I guess I could, but you can rewind it and play with it. I did do it pretty accurately, I believe, counting. So just practice with that. Rewind, practice. Or play it on your own. But just make sure you're counting it right. And that tie is the key there. Okay. Beautiful. Was your timing perfect? Did you let the two D notes of measure 2 and 3, measures 2 and 3, ring together as one for 3 counts? The 3/4 of measure 2 and the 1 of measure 3. If not, try again until you can play it smoothly. You should count out loud as you play. Sounds like the last page, doesn't it? This would also be a good place to try playing along with a metronome, which it would. We're not going to, but they're awesome, and they really hold you accountable to the meter. They're a little frustrating at first, but you get to love them because you know you're improving with when you use them. Metronome, it's a device that clicks in perfect time for you to play along with, as you know from our introduction to them way back. You can speed the clicks up, that's called the tempo, the speed of the music, or slow it down to suit your playing level. You can get one at any music store. It's my advertisement for any music store in the world. You're all welcome. Didn't charge for that advertisement. They are very helpful though. Okay, let's move on and learn some new notes on the 4th string, or D string. Be alert, we're going to try something a little different. D for different. Oh my. Okay, so to make sure I'm on the right page, and I believe I am. Time. Yeah, we got time. All right, we're going to introduce you to some notes on the D or 4th string, but rather than learning just 2 or 3 notes as we did on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings, we're going to learn 5 notes on the 4th string, okay? And we're going to include some accidentals. Remember, those are sharps and flats, as we learned on page 19, 20, and 21. So with that in mind, we're going to learn a few of the notes on the D or 4th string. So we have the D, okay? And then we have E flat or D sharp, okay? E, F. So that, well, I'm getting a lot of light in here. I might just change that mid, I'm going to pull my blind down a little bit. Stay with me. So how's your day going otherwise there, guitar student? That's great. Man, this doesn't get much more professional than that. I noticed the light, the sun was increasing there. So where were we? We had the D open, E flat, E flat or D sharp. Remember, if it's half up from open D, it'd be D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp. Okay, really wanted to just talk in sharps, but I have the flat written there. And so we note those notes, and I noted that these E and F notes are an octave, which means 8 notes apart, lower than the E and F notes on the 1st string that we learned back on page 16. Finally, the F sharp, 4th string, 4th fret, is the first one, 4th finger. That's the first one we've played with our pinky, okay? You probably noticed that. It will seem hard at first, but it will become easier with practice, which it will. Next page shows where these 5 notes are on the staff compared to on your instrument, which you just kind of learned there. But here's my little picture with Guitar Bob. I originally called him Guitar George, but I think that might be a infringement of something in a song. So he's Guitar Bob now. Just showing a little pinky buzz phenomenon, and he's whining there because he can't play it. His pinky won't cooperate, and I said, to clarify, this is where I get all hard-nosed, that this is nonsense. With some practice and patience, your unruly pinky finger will begin to do what you want you. So pinkies are pretty important though. So you see, a lot can be, you really have to master the pinky. Hey, we're at 14:30 already. What do you know? Well, I talked too long. Well, let's come back to page 38, and we'll just do that. And look over these notes on the other strings there we were going to learn. So, okay, jump to lesson 5, part 2.